December 2018, Meghan Markle walks onto the stage at the British Fashion Awards, dressed in a one-shoulder gown and ready to command attention. But behind the glamour, a stunning power play just unfolded. A trusted aide had been publicly undermined, replaced, and frozen out, all in one move. And if you've ever worked with a narcissist, you'll recognize every single tactic she used that night. So let's get into it, but before we begin, here's the intro. Welcome to Revealing the Narc. Join me as I highlight narcissistic traits in celebrities and public figures. Everything here is in my opinion and not professional advice. If you enjoy the analysis, please like and subscribe. I think the topic of this video is something that many of us can connect to if we've worked in a chaotic environment. This video will start out with a clip from a most recent live stream where we went through a couple of articles, watched a video, and talked about hostile working environments. It'll close with 3 different tactics I noticed that Meghan used to control her team, including public undermining, the golden child scapegoat switch, and triangulating her staff. And finally, I'll close with why all of this leads to a hostile, unstable workplace ecosystem. So without further ado, here is that live stream clip. The article I want to talk about was just published and it's titled, Meghan Markle blindsided a senior royal aide in a very public way, leading to awkward moments. This article is highly minimizing the actions that Meghan has taken in the workplace. That are very public, and just like the article says, I agree with it being very public, but they're not awkward moments. I know these are going to be harsh words, but I'm going to say it. It's a hostile work environment, and that's what this video is going to be about. I'll go through the article. I'll also bring in some information about timelines. We'll go a little bit into the British Fashion Awards. And finally, if we have enough time, I'm going to go through the 3 actions that this article demonstrate Meghan's malignant narcissism and what happens when you work for someone that behaves this way. It's really horrible what she did to Jason Knauf, who is the gentleman pictured here, but we're going to get right into it. So the article begins, it's no secret that Prince Harry and Meghan Markle had a testy relationship with their courtiers during their time as working royals. Indeed, the royals faced accusations that they were hard to work with and even claims they were bullying staff. But perhaps no falling out was as dramatic as the one which occurred between the Duke and Duchess of Sussex and senior royal aide Jason Knauf. In fact, Meghan's falling out with Jason was so bad that the Duchess did not even let him know when she was making a surprise appearance at an award ceremony, much to the anger of the royal press pack. Writing in his biography of the royal staff titled Courtiers, Valentine Lowe claims Meghan deliberately undermined him in a very public way, leading to some awkward moments for both the Duchess and the aide. Lowe said that ahead of their trip to Australia in the autumn of 2018, Harry and Meghan's working relationship with Jason was over, in quotation marks, but he remained employed by the couple until March 2019, despite having little to do with them. So my original thought that comes to my mind here is the timeline, because I recently did a video about Omid Scobie, and I know for sure that in December of 2018, Jason Knauf was the middleman between the Sussexes and the authors of the book Finding Freedom, Omid Scobie and Carolyn Durand. There was even, I believe, an email exchange between Jason Knauf and Prince Harry, where Jason Knauf said, we need to be able to say hand on heart that you had no involvement in this book. So Jason Knauf really went out on a limb here to be that middleman. Like, seriously, think about it. If Lowe is saying that the relationship between Jason and the Sussexes was already bad in autumn of 2018, and Jason still went ahead and did a reputation compromising thing. That's really wild to me. Carol says it coordinates all the resources, shows all the actions leading up to Meghan creating a hostile work environment. And in this video, I'm going to prove to you this was a hostile work environment just based on this story. Not even talking about Meghan being the Duchess in high heel, the Duchess dictator, and yelling at people. Just this action, which is public, it's obvious. And we'll get into that. I'm getting ahead of myself. So I wanted to get into this timeline because I wanted to make sure, I wanted to triple check about this 2018, what was going on towards the end of the year. The article I wanted to talk about, this was in the Telegraph, and I'm just going to cover a couple snippets of it. The article was titled, Revealed How Duchess of Sussex Authorized Aid to Brief Biographers. This was released November 10 of 2021. It says, in a witness statement to the court, Mr. Knauff said the couple were aware of the book and that it was discussed on a routine basis with the Duke and Duchess, authorizing specific cooperation in writing. The book was discussed directly with the Duchess multiple times in person and over email. Emails sent on December 10 that year, 2018, show Mr. Knauff sending the Duchess a list of briefing points the authors, Omid Scobie and Carolyn Durand, wanted to discuss, telling her, if you're happy, I will see them later this week to set out the factual background and to provide more recent context. Let's stop there. So this is all documented. None of this was hearsay. It's written down and it's an email, and that I think is to Jason Knauf's benefit, because how easy is it to say, I didn't tell them to go do that. I never said that. I also want to point out here that Meghan sent Jason a 31-point briefing for his conversation. Like, what a controlling person. Like, I can't be there. Okay, I'm not allowed to be there. I would be there if I could, but since I can't, here are 31 points I want you to cover with Omid Scobie and Carolyn Durand. Carol says what happened was he was part of Sussex's, he had enough, and he went to the Cambridges. And I feel like that's what happened too. And we're going to get into someone else that seemed to have a similar fate in a little bit. This same article continues and says, in reply, the Duchess provided information on numerous points, including her relationship with her half-siblings, her father, and the Sussexes' living arrangements. She also went into detail about the very special story of how she chose her wedding tiara with the Queen, sharing that Her Majesty agreed her granddaughter-in-law's final choice was perfect. So we see image management happening here. This is late 2018. They've been married 6 months at this point. And supposedly the relationship between Jason and Meghan and Harry was already deteriorating. So that really says a lot when you're working in a place like this. You know the relationship has deteriorated, yet you still put your reputation on the line. It really makes you pause and think, right? It does for me. Let's continue. So let's get back into the Daily Mail article that was just published. And in it, this is one of the things that Meghan did cruelly, I believe, to Jason Knauf. And the article says, before he publicly stood down, Meghan was already spotted out and about with her new royal aide, Christian Jones, showing in a very public way who her new golden boy was. This is incredibly cruel to me, that Jason would know that things are not going very well for him in his relationship with Harry and Meghan goes out and has this public display. This is how narcissists operate. Sometimes you're the golden child, and sometimes you're the scapegoat. It's incredibly manipulative. It's heartbreaking when you're in it. It pins people against each other, and it's just terrible. So he was hired, Christian Jones, as the new deputy communications secretary for both the Cambridges and the Sussexes, and he was later named as one of the royal aides who could be called to give evidence in Meghan's lawsuit against associated newspapers. So there were 4 people that were named that could have given evidence. Jason Knauf, Sarah Latham, Samantha Cohen, and Christian Jones. And it turns out that Meghan's team secured a summary judgment, which resolved the case without a full trial. And as a result, none of the four were required to testify. Very gracious. Yep, Pinky. So Jason Knauf, sometime last year, I believe it was, did an interview, and he did not speak poorly of Harry and Meghan. Yeah, I know, Tam. And this is I think what happens when you are around a narcissist. You're trying to do whatever you can to diffuse the situation, maybe, or to become the golden child again, or to get their approval, or you're just scared and you don't want to lose your job. So you are accommodating. That I think shows the length of the manipulation and the hostility in working for them. And especially since this article says that by the time Harry and Meghan went to Australia in October, the relationship was already over. So 2 months later, for Jason to risk his reputation it says a lot. Let's see. Yeah, it does. Him being able to maintain his professionalism during that interview. Yep. I agree. He was probably trying to keep peace and his job. He was probably walking on eggshells. He may have been trying to win the affection or admiration or whatever he had before this falling out. Especially when there's that even the article, which isn't talking about narcissism, it's not shining a light on it, but they're calling Christian Jones the new golden boy. That already shows you what type of dynamic we're dealing with here. All right, let's continue. So the next thing was this. The article says the most public snubbing of Jason came in December 2018 when Meghan made a surprise appearance at the British Fashion Awards at the Royal Albert Hall to present an award to Claire Waite Keller, who designed her wedding dress. So quick few notes. Oh, look, the same information is in there. So I guess I could have deleted that first. We didn't need to know that she was presenting the dress to a designer from Givenchy who designed her dress. But this was a snub to Jason Knauf, and it angered the royal press pack. We'll get into that in a little bit. And we were just talking about this, I think 2 videos ago, about Meghan's faux pas, and Richard Eden was talking about them, and one of the biggest ones was exactly this, that she went to the British Fashion Awards and she didn't wear a British designer. Here is an image of what happened there, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the clip. I've edited the music out to the best of my ability. I've clipped a lot of it out so that it's only dialogues and we don't see people walking around. And at this point, Meghan just dropped in. Rosamund Pike was supposed to be the person giving this award, but like Janet is saying in the chat, Meghan gate crashed the event. She didn't tell anybody. She made a surprise appearance. So let me go on mute and let's watch that clip.
Women's Wear Designer of the Year. Women's Wear.
Would you please welcome Rosamund Pike?
It is my privilege to announce that we have a very special guest to announce the winner, Her Royal Highness, the Duchess of Sussex.
Good evening, everyone. It is such a pleasure to be here in my new home of the UK. The winner this evening is Claire Waite Keller.
This woman is so amazing, and
I just can't. She always starts off her speeches in the same way. It's so amazing. I'm going to do a montage of her saying that. The reason I stopped the clip here is like, girl, you had it. You were in the same room with fashion royalty, fashion icon. Cindy Crawford is there. My goodness. And then the disingenuous way she talks about how she's now I forget how she phrased it, but how she now lives in the UK. And then the tears, the artificial tears. Let's watch that part again.
Good evening, everyone. It is such a pleasure to be here in my new home of the UK. The winner this evening is Claire Waite Keller.
This woman is so amazing. And
I just can't. I just can't with her. Let's see what you all are saying. What if Megan's response was, no one tells me what to do? Yeah, Rosamund Pike was over it. She actually didn't know. And I think she really had a good poker face because it looked like she knew. Yeah, Alice says she must have been so happy to once outshine Rosamund Pike, who is actually a talented actress. Yeah, painful to watch. Yeah. Lulu's mom says, wouldn't it be funny if in Megan's language, it's so amazing really means you people are stupid? She really does think that, though. I go by Gina says, anyway, MM is a case study on how to ruin every opportunity. Yeah. Yep. MD says, Gate crashed the UK Fashion Awards in a French design, sticking the knife in her new country's back again. One tear left I go. There it is. There it is. All right. Okay. So let me get back to the article. Okay. So the article continues and says the royal press pack were very put out that they had not been told of this appearance in advance, and several of them did not hesitate to express their feelings to Knauff. But the reason the communication secretary hadn't given them prior warning about the appearance was because he also did not know Meghan was attending the ceremony before she was on stage. So not only was this Meghan sending out a message to Jason that you're no longer in the inner circle, you don't know where I'm going, you don't know when I'm going, but it literally impacts his performance at work. That the royal press, there were people that were counting on him to communicate this information. And when he didn't, he literally got in trouble for something that, what could he do? She's so terrible. She's such a mean girl. She's such a mean girl. So she steps out on purpose with the new golden child to rub that in his face. And then she goes out of her way to get him in trouble after this guy. And sorry if I'm talking casual about all of this, but I'm trying to relate it to if it's happening, like if it happened to my friend. This guy literally put his reputation on the line to be the go-between between Harry and Meghan and the authors of this very controversial book that was going to come out. And this is how Meghan treated him. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And I think, Carol, you said you're reading Revenge. Multiple times in Revenge, it said that Meghan and Harry both blamed Jason. And here it is, another example of the malignancy. So in Meghan's mind, Jason was the reason that the press were saying negative things about her. Jason wasn't on social media deleting the comments fast enough. Jason wasn't talking to the press to make sure negative things were not said about her. And she had to exact her revenge, even though the reality of the situation is Jason risked his reputation. Jason ended up looking like he wasn't having good performance at his job. It's awful. Yeah, it's so rude to Knauff. If he doesn't know something, he cannot be blamed for it. Yes. Lisa says she likes to flash flood events, just shows up out of the blue, as she did at the polo tournament with Sophie. Yeah, just showed up out of the blue and then was nasty to Sophie. Dr. Choundaka. Terrible. Carol says, Jason Knauf said, well, I can only show the true talents of the principals. Yeah. Alice, we're going to get into it. We're going to get into this exactly. This was done on purpose, adding to the cruelty. It only takes 5 minutes to tell him, but she purposely kept him out of the loop. I would love to interview Jason Knauf. Please, please, please. I would love that. She did the same thing at Inskip's wedding. Man, I post a lot of videos, shorts about Harry and Meghan where Meghan touches him. Okay. And if someone hasn't seen all of these videos together, and I actually just got a comment like this, that's her husband. Who cares if she touches him? That's what they say. The problem isn't that she touched him on his back on January 23rd of 2018. The problem is it's a pattern of repeated behavior. That's the issue. Yeah, and actually this actually solidifies my point. If we were basing all of this analysis on a single point in time, That's not enough data points. But we're looking from the videos when I look at with Harry and Meghan, they started as early as 2017 at Invictus. The behavior was there and it continues until now. We're talking 8 years worth of things. And let's not forget how nasty she was in interviews before she met Harry, how nasty she was when she was supposedly doing volunteer work in Rwanda. So this is a pattern of behavior. Tam says, I never knew that touching of him was a power play until I heard you talk about it. Yeah, it's wild. Yeah. Okay, let's continue. And this is the juicy part, you guys. This is the part that is infuriating. It says, on top of this, Meghan also allegedly refused to let Samantha Cohen or her assistant private secretary, Amy Pickerel, tell Jason about the event. So Amy and Samantha knew, and she refused to let them tell him. So it's not simply she didn't want to pull out her phone and text him to tell him she was going. No, this was a concerted effort to keep him in the dark. And I can only think of 2 reasons why she would do this. Number 1, to show him that he's fallen out of favor with her. Number 2, to make him look bad professionally. This is malignant behavior. It's truly disgusting. Truly, it's awful. It's infuriating. Actually, as I'm talking about it, I'm getting angry because we all know people that act like this at work, or we may have known a boss that's like this. It's cruel. Then the article goes on to say it was an astonishing example of how badly their relationship had deteriorated that Meghan didn't even trust him to keep a simple confidence, Lowe said. This is not true. I don't agree with what Valentine Lowe is saying here. This was malignancy. That, in my opinion, he was kept out of the dark on purpose to put him in his place, in my opinion. The article continues and says, not long after the drama, Jason would leave the Sussexes to take up a new role as a special advisor to Prince William and Catherine, in a sign that the battle lines between the two brothers were already being drawn. There it is, everybody. Thanks, everyone who was contributing to the conversation about this piece. I remembered reading it, but I didn't want to definitively say yes, and I'm glad it's right here in the article. It makes me wonder also, you know, sometimes when you work for a place that's toxic or manipulative or not, or you work for a boss that's not that healthy, other departments that are not as toxic may recruit you, right? To maybe give you a better opportunity. I think William and Catherine likely had a lot of sympathy towards Jason after seeing how Meghan treats people. So I think it also shows William and Catherine's character here too. And it lends credibility to the things that have been said where Catherine and William were appalled at how Meghan was treating people. Defenestrate says malignant narcs like Meghan love having that level of control over people who work for them. Yes. Yeah. All right. Let's finish up the article. It continues and says, indeed, it would be Jason who would cause one of the first clashes between Harry and William when he sent an internal email raising concerns about Meghan's alleged poor treatment of staff in the royal family, which was leaked after Megxit. And Jason Knauf in the email said, I'm very concerned that the Duchess was able to bully 2 PAs out of the household in the past year. The treatment of X was totally unacceptable, he allegedly wrote. According to royal author Robert Lacey, when Knauff presented the Prince of Wales with a dossier of distress about their behavior, he went ballistic and was left astonished and horrified by what he heard. I would not be surprised by this. This article, there's not a whole lot of room for speculation, right? The royal, what was it called? The royal, what did they call them? Sorry, everyone. I'm going to go back because I want to remember what it was called. The royal press pack. That's what I meant to say. The royal press pack wouldn't make it up. They had no idea that Meghan went to the British Fashion Awards and Jason didn't tell them. This is fact. You can't, how do you argue with that? Yeah, I don't think you can. Okay, everyone. So what I wanted to do next is talk about 3 things that I see happening here that are contributing and are evidence of, in my opinion, of a hostile work environment. The first is the public undermining. The British Fashion Awards, like we've been saying, the snub, it wasn't just about skipping a heads up. It's a textbook case of public undermining. Narcissists often stage these moments to rewrite who controls the optics. By leaving Jason in the dark, Meghan ensured he'd look incompetent in front of the royal press while she controlled the spotlight. In narcissistic abuse, this is the equivalent of a coworker changing a meeting time without telling you, so you arrive late and they look like the reliable one. The next thing, and we talked about this earlier, is this golden child scapegoat switch. The quick pivot from Knauff to the new golden boy Christian Jones is a power move in narcissistic systems when one person is elevated as the favorite while another is suddenly devaluated. It's often a warning to everyone else. It's not just a replacement, it's a replacement in public, and it sends the message: your value is conditional and I can swap you out anytime. This is something that we all might instantly recognize in families. I recognize it in mine. I hope you don't recognize it, but I feel this is incredibly common. And an example of this could be one sibling is constantly praised while another one just can't do anything right. And finally, there was triangulation among staff, and this was such a red flag to me that Meghan instructing Samantha Cohen and Amy Pickerel to not tell Jason, she created a triangle of control. Triangulation is when a narcissist uses one person to send messages or to control another instead of directly communicating. It keeps everyone slightly mistrustful of each other and more dependent on the narcissist for information. In offices, this is the manager who tells two team members different stories so they compete instead of collaborate. In families, it's the parent who confides in one child about the other, creating an uneven playing field. And I mean, let's put ourselves in this situation. Let's say you're Jason and you find out two of your closest teammates didn't give you valuable information they had. That's going to create conflict immediately between the three people there. So Meghan has succeeded, maybe not in pitting people against each other in this example, but definitely in creating bad feelings. It's awful. So the next thing I want to do, and this is how I'll close out this portion of the live, is to talk about how all of this did create, it's no question in my mind, a hostile, unstable workplace. The first is chronic anxiety and distress. People become afraid of making mistakes because they've seen how quickly someone can be humiliated or replaced. Colleagues stop trusting each other because they're unsure who's in with the narcissist at any given moment. There's high turnover. The most competent people leave first, oftentimes, because they can't thrive in a climate of constant power plays. The ones who stay may be the most compliant, maybe not the most skilled, and that ends up hurting performance in the long term. Now, I do want to say that this is very generalized. And if we think of it logically, people that are more experienced may have an easier time finding a new job and leaving, but that's not always the case. There are also people that are people pleasers and they just want to be in good graces so much that they may have experienced this so much in their own childhood that it's hard to leave this type of dynamic. So I do want to put that out there as well. The third is communication breakdown. Information gets filtered through the narcissist control, so miscommunication and delays become common. This slows down productivity and it fuels more blame shifting. Number 4, there's toxic competition instead of collaboration. People focus on staying in the narcissist's favor rather than working together towards shared goals. The culture shifts from team success to personal survival. And finally, there's emotional burnout. Constant walking on eggshells leads to exhaustion, resentment, and eventual disengagement. So I think just on this one article alone, on this one incident alone, we see that there is a hostile work environment. All the evidence, in my opinion, is there. And that was the end of the live stream clip. I hope you enjoyed it. I'd love it if you could join me on a future live stream. It's such a good time connecting, soliciting opinions, getting feedback, and talking about topics that I think really hit home for so many of us. I am curious to know what you thought about all of this, so please drop it in the comments if you feel comfortable. If this was interesting to you, please like and subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you'll know every time I drop a new video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and you're looking for a meaningful way to support something beyond the screen, I'd love for you to consider making a donation to the National Domestic Violence Hotline in lieu of super chats and super stickers. They provide 24/7 support and resources for people in unsafe or overwhelming situations, whether that's emotional, physical, or just hard to name. Their information is on the screen should you need to contact them, and you'll find the link to donate in the description of this video. Every little bit helps, and it means a lot. Thank you again for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye, everybody.